Stefan, just on Brexit, since we've just come from Westminster, how is it impacting you now? You had said that there was very little of an impact last year when you were here, but is it more of an impact now?
You know, the thing is, just giving you a bit of the scope of the impact for us, 85% of our business is not impacted. So because we are widespread in Europe, so it's 85% is not impacted. And when you take a bit of perspective, the important thing is, we've been through a lot of interesting times. We went through a unprecedented turnaround. You remember probably 4 years ago where the business was around minus 11%. Now we have 10 quarters of consecutive organic revenue growth, which is great. And last year we had an unprecedented level of inflation. The team again went for it. And this year, we have Brexit. Whatever form of Brexit, obviously. We are ready. We are preparing ourselves. 2019 we are fully ready. We're not changing anything in terms of guidance, which is great. And for 2020, obviously, a lot of things are being prepared right now. And come what may.
Are you changing how your supply chain works? Are you changing who you get to deliver? How you send frozen food across water?
Yes, there are at least things we're considering. So, for example, we have plants in the UK. We also have plants in other countries in Europe. And so at some stage, instead of going to UK, we may go to some other countries. And so we're obviously avoiding the whole thing in terms of tariffs, if there are tariffs at some stage. But we have a lot of mitigating measures before that. Subsidies is one thing. Second piece is how to make sure that you're going to be only, if there is a tariff, only obviously about the process side. Then you have, to your point, supply chain, big things. And then ultimately there is a bit of price as well. So a lot of things. Again, same thing. I think it's the teams are taking this, okay, next challenge, let's go for it, and we're going to thrive.
Stefan, let's talk opportunities, because amid the chaos of Brexit, inevitably there are opportunities in the form of deals. You guys have, I think, about 700 million euros of cash to spend. Where are you going to spend it?
Oh, frozen food again in Europe is a great place to be, and it's a great place to be because we are the undisputed leader, and as an undisputed leader, it's easier to buy. Number one. And number two, it's also easier to generate the synergies that you need. And so this is, to start with, that's where we think we can leverage the best, our balance sheet, which, to your point, is very strong.
So what are you going to buy?
I'm not going to say what, I always took in my life, I'm never going to say what I'm going to buy, but I'm giving some directions. Directionally is, to start with, short term, is frozen in Europe. But Europe can extend beyond Western Europe. It shouldn't necessarily be retail. It could be, food service at some stage or other things. And it could be, for example, also, other categories. So that's the kind of things we have in mind. And I think you can find a lot of it. The pipeline is great. At the same time, I will never compromise in terms of discipline and what it has to be.
Well, let's flip it around. In terms of who's selling and how that is looking at the moment, because there is pressure on a lot of companies, and there's pressure on private equity as well to actually find exits for some of these assets. How's that market?
No, we're ready. So you remember definitely that, let's say, Nomad was created of the opportunity of two private equity firms starting to being at the end of the process. One was for Bird's Eye Igloo, the second one was with Findus, and we did it. So we're ready for this piece. We're ready for the family businesses that think that at some stage, they're running out of let's say frozen food, or we're getting ready for the big companies that think at some stage that is frozen food really strategic for me or not. So you have a series of different situations. We have to be obviously very flexible, very smart and very fast on the ball. And that's exactly what we're doing, again, without forgetting the discipline.
It's a difficult time for meat processors, beef and chicken processors, and particularly one of them is actually the lowest performer today. You, however, are making more inroads into meat substitutes and green cuisine. Now, you've been in meat substitutes and green cuisine for a long time, but that makes up still only about 2% of your pie, so to speak. How do you grow that to 5%, 10% and beyond?
We're going to grow it big time. We're putting all the resources behind it. So instead of having something which is, overall, let's say a matrix solutions, we have decided to dedicate a full organization behind plant protein. It's absolutely there to stay. And it's a very fragmented market right now, growing big time. We are the market leader in frozen, and it has to be ours. And we have great products, I can tell you. It's very well received, back to your point about Quinn cuisine. It's very well received by the trade, and it's starting to be very well received by the consumers.